Good evening and welcome again to yet another channel update. And this was a spur of the moment thing. I was looking for new challenges in Football Manager, and no, this doesn't mean my Ebbsfleet save is dead. Far from it. We're actually having a grand old time right now, winning by a landslide, and I'm not going to mention the score because that is going to be relevant for Wednesday's update. So, Ebbsfleet is not dead, as I was saying. Red Star is not dead, but there will be a Twitch event going on, and I will put that up possibly on Friday night. Now, what I'm thinking of doing here is I was looking for a challenge, as I mentioned earlier. So I came up with an article through a Google search, and it's titled Football Manager 2015 10 Hardest Career Challenges You Must Tackle. So, what I'm going to do in this particular video is just go through each particular challenge. I'm going to read out the objectives, so it's going to be a fairly lengthy update. I've already read through all of them, so I just have to go back. Alright, so number 10. Well, first, we're going to start with an introduction. So I'm going to skim through the introduction again, just give you a quick overview. So basically, these are the top 10 challenges, which we'll just basically have to try. The challenges may range from clubs being stripped of their assets, fighting administration, a former giant needing a little bit of coaxing back towards the previous reputation, basically another road to glory for that club. Yeah, there are a mixture of challenges within this list. So going on to number 10. Eibar. I hope I'm saying that right. Or is it Eibar? I think it's Eibar. After consecutive promotions all the way from Segunda Division B to the riches of La Liga, the Basque Minnows have quite a fight on their hands to stave off relegation and consolidate themselves as a stalwart at the top of the Spanish league system. Despite being financially sound, the newly promoted side had to call upon fans and attract other shareholders to ensure their safe ascension out of the Segunda Division, raising a sum of 1.75 million euros in order to satisfy the LFP's criteria for promotion. Located in the mountainous town of Ipurua, I almost said Ipuria there, boasting a stadium with only 6,000 seats. Creating a home fortress appears to be a possible requirement of taking the managerial hot seat from former Eibar player Gaizka Garitano. Plenty of signings have already been made over the summer months, including the loan signing of Manu Del Moral, with no less than 7 new faces brought into the club at the time of writing. Barcelona B's Dani Nieto and Athletic Club Bilbao's Borja Equiza are two of the more familiar names in terms of FM14, but there is scope for plenty more to be done in the transfer market to plug gaps and ensure that the squad is competitive for Los Sameros inaugural season in the La Liga. So with that, moving on to number 9, Feyenoord. The objective here, rebuild and thrive. So basically, I'm not going to read every single description here because they're quite lengthy. I'm just going to go over them quickly. So Ronald Koeman left the club and had a good World Cup campaign, but they haven't been the same since, so there's plenty to be done at this club. Now, some players have left, which is going to make this a harder challenge than normal, and it's something to consider here, and I'm strongly considering Feyenoord at this point, or Feyenoord, sorry. Moving on to number 8, Southampton. Objective here is to rebuild smartly and finish in the top half. Something I would be more than comfortable with. Now, Southampton, probably if I was to take this challenge, I would be looking at a lengthy one, considering that I would need to build the squad up very, very, very slowly. So, by the time we're competitive enough to challenge for the title in the Premiership, would be probably about 4 to 5 years into the save. And looking at the things, I mean, they have some huge contracts. I'm gonna just read this excerpt right here from the second paragraph. So, taking in huge fees for the likes of Adam Lallana, Dejan Lovren, Luke Shaw, and Callum Chambers, Southampton will certainly have some financial clout. Though recent deals have proven that clubs are keen to squeeze a few additional million out of an outfit who are struggling to counteract their significant exodus. So, potentially some of those players we could see them leaving if I was to take the Southampton challenge. Next up, we move to Argentina, and this is going to be Boavista. Simple objective is promotion. So basically, following relegation and financial struggles in the lower echelons of the Portuguese... Oh wait, this is Argentina? What the fuck am I saying? Boavista, Portugal. Portuguese footballing pyramid. Former giants Boavista have finally managed to drag themselves into the nation's second division once again, suggesting an imminent return to their former home of the Primeira Liga. That's as far as I'm going to go into that. So basically the objective here is to bring Boavista back and to contend against giants like Benfica and FC Porto. And that does sound appealing. Next up, we stay in Portugal, and the objective here is to break the curse with Benfica. So, hard challenge probably. I know next to nothing about Portuguese league, which is something I should have mentioned with the previous point I went over. But one thing I do know about Benfica is that they tend to sign a ton of Serbian players, and I would definitely continue within that tradition. Try to bring in as many Serbian wonder kids and youngsters as possible. This, in terms of my personal aspirations, would probably be the best fit for the challenge. Now, moving on next, we go to Brazil. Red Bull Brazil. Number 5 on the challenge list, and that is create a new superpower. So basically, they were founded back in November in 2007. They were basically the answer to the Red Bull Salzburg in New York Red Bull football clubs. So the logo looks pretty much identical to both of them. Affectionately known as the Toro Loco, they have their sights on battling their way up the sizable Brazilian footballing pyramid, especially since narrowly missing out on another ascension 2 years ago. So, the club has only been active since 2007, but they've risen up in the footballing pyramid within Brazil, and that is something to consider within the parameters of this challenge. Number 4, we go to Germany, and we have Hamburger SV. And the objective here is to awake the giant. So, enough said with the description. With Hamburg, they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of potential for the upcoming years. And the objective would obviously be to challenge for the Bundesliga title. And that's something I've never attempted before. Yet another thing to try. Next one, AC Milan. And I'm not even going to go into the description here because, for one thing, I support Lazio. For another thing, on the site, the actual screenshot, well, it has a Milan player shadowed by Lazio's defender. So it's not something I'm considering. But with Milan, obviously the objective is to rebuild and recapture the former glory, which should be a sizable objective. Number 2, Burnley. Objective here is simply survival. So coming off the back of a championship campaign with which now has seen Sam Dyche dub as the Ginger Mourinho. Burnley certainly have their work cut out. So the thing is, the objective there is to basically survive. And the challenge I will definitely be taking on next, not only because it's number 1 on the list, but because I kind of like Perugia as a club. Number 1 is Perugia, and the objective is return to glory. So following a 9-year absence from Serie B, Perugia are back in within a chance of pushing their way towards the top flight of Italian football once again, despite winning the Intertoto Cup in 2003, thus qualifying them for the next season's UEFA Cup competition. The Grifoni have since fallen off the radar somehow. In May, courtesy of a comfortable victory over Frosinone, Perugia secured the return to the second division, signifying the first step forward for a number of years. The days of bizarrely signing Colonel Gaddafi's son, or perhaps more strangely, Jay Bothroyd, are a long way in the past, but at least they occurred during the outfit's most successful era of recent memory, boasting a record of going unbeaten in Serie A during a season in which the club finished as runners-up. There's definitely a lot to be done in order to return Perugia to the standard required in order to challenge for the Scudetto. After enjoying a 6-year stint in Serie A around the turn of the millennium and picking up a European trophy nearly over a decade ago, there are fragments of the past which appear achievable. After copious name changes and being bankrupt in 2010, before reforming in Serie D, a year later, our actions would be the catalyst that will determine the future success of the club. So, with all of that being said, this leaves a lot to be considered. Now, I also find it, well, I haven't looked it up, but I would find it too hard to believe that no one else has attempted a challenge based on a list like this. I'm going on a limb saying that, and certainly get me engaged in a discussion and prove me wrong there. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, again, I'll post a link to my Twitch TV channel. If there's a demand for it, I'll put up YouTube updates with regards to this challenge as well. And as always, I hope you all tune in, and thank you for watching. And if you like the content, please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you back for the next one.